We have reached the last part of the first chapter, and this section is asked sometimes for 2 marks. So we'll just quickly cover that and we'll move to the next chapter. So the title goes when not to use a DBMS. You will be surprised with this title that normally, I mean, throughout the class, throughout this chapter, we have learned the advantages of the database management system over the file processing system. And now suddenly this title that when not to use DBMS. That means there are situations when this DBMS is not supposed to be used. So let us see what is that situation in which it is not advisable or recommended to use a DBMS. Of course, it's an old story, doesn't match with the current scenario, but still, since sometimes it is asked for examination purpose, then we will continue. We will study this. Basically, the DBMS, the cost of maintaining a database, of course, now is little more. This was a story when the software was newly invented. Now, actually, the software have become so competitive in nature and they are available in the form of a package. Even with your mobile, you have got such advanced software. So there is no additional overhead cost that comes with, comes separately. So whenever we purchase any hardware piece, we always get this software along with that. So this is the old scenario where in which the author is talking about the cost of using a database management system. Anyways, so whenever what is that reason for the expenditure incurred in case of maintaining a DBMS software? Basically, high initial investment in hardware, software, and training. So whenever a database management system has to be used, you can't hire a person who knows MS Office only. You should get a person who is technically sound. So again, here the investment goes in maintaining a database that you need to hire a person who is expert. Then next is overhead for providing security, concurrency, control, recovery, and integrity functions. Because whenever you are taking a complicated thing, then you have to pay for it. I can give you a simple, maybe a silly example, but then it will relate to this scenario. Like normally you have seen security. They are available even now, even when the lockdown is going on, college is not working, but still the security people are working. They are there at the hostel, they are there in the college. So why security is required? Why security is required? Because definitely there is something which is very risky to be kept free. So if the security is not provided, then there may be people or there is something. I mean, there are. So what is that something? Is there a gold in the college? Is there money kept openly in the college? If the money is there in the bank, but then what is that? So of course there is a lot many things. Long ago also there was a case in our college when the theft was there. So what is that? So we have so many servers there. We have so many PCs, isn't it? Your lab itself. Then we have servers. One server costs around 1 lakh rupees. So there are, I mean, other than that also there are so many things which are costly. So whenever there is some, you can say costly thing that needs to be protected, then you will hire a watchman, because watchman doesn't come free of cost. When you hire a security, you have to pay for it. But in compared to how much you are paying them, as compared to that, if you have, that expensive thing to be protected, then only you will hire. So the asset that needs to be protected is comparatively more than the amount what you are paying for the security people. Okay, I can just give you another scenario. Many people might be staying in PG, isn't it? Now you have gone to your hometown. So people who stay in a single room, will they hire a security or watchman to for protection? No, then it will be like normally in a room. how much expensive, how many expensive things you may have. Of course, nowadays people are, landlords. You carry expensive mobiles, smartwatches, whatnot. But still, uh, they are not that expensive that you will hire a watchman for it. And then it will be like uh, that situation that, okay, if you have to hire a watchman, then it will be something like Amdani Athani and Kharcha Rupaya. That means you have very little thing to be protected, and you are hiring a person to protect. I mean, small thing, you have to pay more. I mean, the kind of payment you are giving to those watchmen is more than the thing uh, you are trying to protect. So sometimes that situation may be there. So similarly, in case of database management system, what happens is there is a kind of overhead for providing security, backup, recovery, etc. But when you have very small data to be saved, and you don't have that uh, complicated data which needs to be processed for complicated query, etc. You're not working on railway reservation system, or you're not working on library management system. You're not working for any, you're not making application for college management system. You don't own a shop. You are just trying to do some kind of house billings. So house billings can be done even manually, of course, or okay, fine. At the most, they can be done on an Excel sheet. For that, maintaining a DBMS will be too much. Fine. So that means you are trying to spend more for a small thing. So these are the situations, I mean, when you are trying to save this cost. So additional problem for using database may arise if uh, DB, if you do not properly design the database, and again there will be a chaos and mess. So hence it may be more desirable to use regular files under the following circumstances. That means when not to use DBMS. This is the answer for it. When not to use DBMS, when the database and applications are simple, well defined, and not expected to change. That means when the data which you want to save uh, doesn't undergo much change, it is steady year after year, and it is very, very simple. There are no different levels of security to be applied. Then there are stringent real-time requirements for some program that may not be met because of overhead, a DBMS overhead. Okay, sometimes what happens, data is required very fast, and in case of using DBMS, it may become complicated. And also in situations when only one user is accessing the data, no multiple levels of security or access permissions are required. In that case, it is advisable not to use DBMS, because DBMS means again those complications will occur. So last 2-3 statements are the answer to the question when not to use DBMS. Fine. When the databases are simple, well defined, and they are not frequently changing. Secondly, when there are no multiple user access, multiple levels of user access is required. Fine. So these are the 2 points which are sufficient for this answer. Fine. Okay. Now this chapter is over. Let's go with the next chapter now. Okay. Next chapter again talks about a lot of theory. Don't feel bored, because as I told you, first 2 chapters cover 60 to 70% of your theory questions. So your all examination, you can say, answers are there in these 2 chapters. So you have to understand them properly. Okay, so chapter 2 talks about database system concepts and architecture. Fine. So here we are learning some concepts or some terms which were used at the time of invention of these databases. Slowly, these names got changed. And then, so that's why for one particular thing you may learn in the same semester, you will learn 2-3 terms. The simple example I had given you. For table, we call it also relations. For columns, we call attributes, and for rows, we call tuples. Other than that, there are other terms also. So slowly, you'll be acquainted with that. Now, okay. So what are those things we are going to learn in this chapter? First thing is we are going to learn different data models. Models means the initial things. Whenever any particular building has to be constructed, big building, normally models are prepared just to understand that how that building will look. So that directly you don't start constructing, and just to foresee what problems you may face, or how that to visualize the future product, you will prepare first the mini model, and then when the model is approved, you go for the actual construction. Similarly, in case of designing of the database management software, initially there were some models which were prepared and which were agreed by all the developers, then only the invention was supported. So let us see what were the data models, and even these data models have got different levels or different types. So data model, this is important for 2 marks. A set of concepts to describe the structure of a database and certain constraints that database should obey. So model, it is something, you take the example of a building model. What does it contain? It will just give you some idea of the rooms, how many rooms that building will have. Of course, it will not show you the entire clear interior, that where will be the window, or small things, where will be the wardrobe and how does the wardrobe look, something like that. No, it will just roughly show you where will be the entrance, how many rooms will be there, and entire area, how it will be divided. Similarly, a data model is a kind of structure of a database, and some sort of rules or the constraint that the database should obey. Now, this is the definition of data model. Second, data model operations. It is not much used. Operations for specifying database retrievals and updates by referring to the concepts of the data model. These are data model operations. So these are basic operations and user-defined operations. We'll talk about these operations later. Okay, categories of data model, very, very important question. Frequently asked 5 marks question. Explain different data models used. So as I told you some other time while learning DBMS, that there are 3 levels of visibilities, or you can say 3 kinds of people who will view your data at different levels. So let me show you by annotations. So this is a place where your end user lies. Take the example of railway reservation system. So here will be your clerk who will be booking your seats, etc. at this particular screen, at this right side. So this is your, you can say, external. Then there is internal, which talks about, it is also called as physical. Physical means here your data storage structures such as arrays or linked list, etc. are stored. And here lies your implementational level. Implementational level means this is where you will be designing your databases and defining the relationships between them. So actually your practical, I mean this database management system practicals, you will be lying somewhere here. Fine, in the middle level. Okay, let us know various things about it. So the data model, first thing, it lies at the conceptual or the high level. So which is the high level? Rightmost thing. High level data model provides concepts that are close the way many users perceive data. Also called as entity based or object model based data model. So at the right side, or at this particular high level model, many users will be able to see that. So as compared to your programmers, there will be clerks more who will be working on your database, isn't it? So high level data model lies at the external level. Then there is low level data model, which is also called as internal or physical. So this low level model, again for 2 marks, they may ask you what is physical data model. So you should be able to explain. Physical or low level or internal data model provides concept that describe details of how data is actually stored in the form of data structures in your computer's memory. So this is the leftmost. Then the middle level is called as implementational or representational data model. It provides concepts that fall between the above two, balancing user views with some computer storage details. So here is where your programmer or designer lies. Fine. So these are the three categories of data models. So all these things are asked for 2 marks. Database schema. Again, it is very, very important question. They'll ask you what is schema or what is database schema. So what do you mean by schema? The description of the database is called schema. The actual table is different and the description of the table is different, is called as a schema. Practically, how does schema look and how does your database look, that I will show you. Database schema includes the description of the database structure and the constraints that should hold on the database. So what does this description contain? The description contain different things, like database structure means how many columns are there. And then it also talks about what constraints are there. And sometimes it also specifies the number of users that are going to access this particular data. So database schema is defined or specified during the database design and not expected to change frequently. So the structure rarely changes, whereas the data frequently changes. So when we talk about the structure refers to the schema, remember. Now, next concept is schema diagram. Sometimes this question is asked and people write the answer for the database schema. So remember, schema diagram is nothing but the diagrammatic representation of a database schema is called a schema diagram. So here in the bracket, we have mentioned some aspects of. Why we have mentioned some aspects of? Is it not that in the schema diagram we are mentioning or we are going to display everything about the schema? No. Why? Because the constraints what are part of the database schema, they cannot be displayed with the database, with the schema diagram. So that's why schema diagram can only show some of the relationships or only the structure of the database. So that's why schema diagram is nothing but a diagrammatic display or representation of a database schema. It displays structure of every record type and it doesn't display actual data. It shows only the structure and the relationship between the tables. Now schema construct means the actual object kind of. Each component or object in the schema is called as a schema construct. That means schema refers to the entire database and schema construct refers to the individual tables in that particular database. Clear? So let us see next. Okay, this is the example of schema diagram. So when we say student table, what comes in front of your eyes or imagination is the student table like this. You must have imagined the student table like with if it is B division 4B's student table, like then how many rows you have imagined? Around 75, because 75 students are there in B division. Of course, not all of them attend, but anyways, so 75 rows you might have imagined. But when we talk about the structure, here this is the structure of the student class. Is it displaying 75 rows? No, it is displaying only the column headings which are associated with your student data. That means I'm going to store 4B class ka data in the table called as student. Now, when we talk about the student table, there are two things. One is the structure and second is the data. What are the two things every table is associated with? Structure and data. When we talk about the structure, we talk about the column names, we talk about the data types, we talk about the relationship or to some extent, okay, or we talk about the uh, constraints. So the structure of student table is mentioned in schema diagram like this. So structure is nothing but the names of the columns. Name is there, student number is there, then class of the student is there, and major means the subject, a specialization. It is just, it is taken from the database, it is taken from the textbook. So that major and minor subjects were there earlier part of syllabus. Now for graduation, everything is equally weighted. Earlier there were subjects in which students used to have mastery and they were called as major subjects. Anyways, so here student table structure is shown. So this is called as a schema, student table schema. It doesn't show you the data. So remember always, schema does not show you actual instances or the data of the table. It shows you only the structure of the table. Similarly, now this entire, all these 4-5 tables are part of your college management system. So college management system is a database, whereas student, course, prerequisite, section and grade report, all these are individual tables. So when we talk about the course table, this is the schema diagram. Course name is there, course number is there, then credit hours is there and department is there. Fine. Just a minute. Okay. So database schema, database refers to multiple tables, and here we are, all these individual tables are shown by a single row here. So this is the structure of the table. So this is how your schema diagram looks. For all your practicals, journal programs, you are going to create your own schema diagram. You are going to draw your own schema diagram, and you will be able to. Once you learn for one particular database, automatically for the next database, I'm sure you will draw your own schema diagram. Fine. Okay, so once we have learned what is database schema, now let us talk about database instance. The data in the database changes frequently as compared to the structure. So data is more frequently changing, whereas structure rarely changes. The actual data stored in a database at a particular moment is called as a database instance. It is also called as a database state. So to make you understand, I have just created a small table here below. Here we have a student table wherein we have what all columns we have here. We have name, then we have student number, then we have class, and we have major. Major is nothing but the subject. And normally in case of BBA student, you will see this specialization is there, finance or marketing, or there is one more. Anyways, so only when you take about this blue colored, only the column headings and their data types that represent your structure. But when we talk about the actual data, Ram is one student, Sham is another student. Likewise, if we go to store all 75 students data, that is called as database instance. So now you understood the difference. The earlier one, or this particular column heading, is called as database structure, and down part, the actual data is called as database instance. Fine. And what changes frequently? Do you add extra column frequently, or do you add extra student, additional student? So the data or adding the student details happens frequently as compared to adding a new column to the data. Fine. So this is how database instance is more frequently changing than the database structure. So which is called as a database state. So database state is nothing but it refers to the content of a database at any particular point of time. It is also called as instance of the database. Fine. Next, initial database state. These are the terms but not frequently asked. Refers to the database when it is loaded first or first populated with initial data. This is called an initial database state. Then valid state, a state that means a data with a table filled with data in which the data satisfies all the rules. That is called as a valid state. And invalid state is when the data is mixed type. It does not entire data is of the type valid. Now the distinction between database schema and versus database state. Database schema changes very infrequently. That means rarely. Schema doesn't change frequently, whereas state changes frequently. Schema is also called as intention. See, the spelling is not intention here, whereas state is called as extension. Okay, it's not TION, it is SION. Please understand. Sometimes they also ask this for 2 marks. Differentiate between database schema versus database state. Fine. So these are the two major differences. Okay, so okay, this 3 schema architecture is a little lengthy concept, so we will stop here today and we'll continue in the next class. All of you give your attendance.